Yeah. Hi everyone. We thought we'd do a second video for you today, only because our um time on Zoom is a little limited, so we wanted to cram in as much stuff as we could for you guys. So welcome back to Tea and Taboos. My name is Alana, and today I am here with the infamous Tracy.
Oh, here's the infamous Tracy. Yeah, just disappeared there.
Trying to de-blur herself from the living room. That's a nice little living room image. I like that. It looks
And
cozy.
again, it's part of my faking until I make it. My own living room
There you go.
doesn't look so
Yeah, I
cozy.
know. I'm like, imagine if we could do that. It's just you pick a filter, you pick background, and you love it, and then you just have to like tap it, and then you're like in that setting. They'll probably end up doing that at some point
As
with the
long as it's not a
technology.
fiery setting. I have one of those
Exactly.
actually.
Yeah.
Because
Speaking
of
of
course,
fire,
we're talking about good old British subject. It's not really a taboo, but we'll get there eventually. The taboo will come. We're talking about the weather.
yes, we are. Yes, we are. We were just discussing in terms of climate change, in terms of our world heating up. It's pretty scary. And we were just talking about the floods that were happening as well.
Well, we
In
say
Florida.
heating up
Yeah.
when she's got snow in the background.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Well, still very cold here in Canada. I don't think Canada will ever heat up. I
Well,
think
no,
it'll
we
just
had a
be
good summer.
cold
It's just
forever.
in the winter it gets a little chilly.
It's like
And
extremes. Yeah.
weather this last couple of days, we sent America, US of A, some marvelous snow.
Oh, so we sent them a little gift.
They have been inundated with snow. Like, I mean, literally, that they are
That's
like us
actually
doing
kind of
our
funny.
archaeology.
That's actually kind of funny. It's almost like Mother Nature from Canada was like, here, have a sprinkle of this. And now you know
Oh,
how Canada feels.
she
That's
didn't.
quite
She
funny.
didn't just sprinkle. She literally dumped an
Got the
entire
whole
year's
bloody
worth of snow.
flour and just went, vroom.
Pretty much. Pretty
That's
much.
funny. And I bet like Americans are like, what the? Because they haven't experienced anything as cold as this, right?
Well, it comes down from us, the North. We, the North, yeah. And
We the
it
North.
flows down over our beautiful lake. I mean, we've had some quite warm weather this week. Warm as in it hasn't been too. We've had a bit of snow last week. But in comparison to what they had, we were fine.
Exactly.
I mean, you're talking of weather just not so long ago. What was there? Hurricane Ian.
That's insane to me. How
Hurricane
flooded it
Norma.
gets in some places in America. Like that's such a scary image to me. Like, and that can happen at any time. It just seems to be that Florida's the place that likes to flood.
If you live near water, you have the chance of flooding. I mean, even down on the lakefront, people flood and sometimes, they get flooding in their basements and their parking lots down there in the high rises.
We're lucky in the sense that like when living on water, living in Lake Ontario, it's a lake. So it's very beautiful. It's very nice. But hopefully, touch word before I jinx it, the currents aren't that strong to cause a monstrosity like that. But I don't know.
Your biggest problem comes from north because the city of Toronto has, if you got the Don Valley Parkway, and that's literally having pushed the river back so the motorway can go through.
There you go.
So when it floods, it's gonna take out the DVP.
Yeah, exactly. And I love how they always give it a name, don't they? I wonder why they do that. Why do they name hurricanes? Why do they name floods?
Well, at least they give and take. One's a woman, one's a man.
Yeah.
One stage it's tornadoes and hurricanes. They used to name them differently, and I think now they're trying to be less gender biased as to what they name them.
I think so. So they're like, okay, we need like a mutual name, a non-binary name.
Well, no, I mean, you're going to use a name. It's either going to be, Ian is specifically male, Monica is specifically female.
Well,
you can't keep calling them all Leslie and Tracy,
Oh my gosh, yeah, I do find it quite amusing that they do name their hurricanes and stuff. I've always sort of wondered about that. Like, why do they do that? I think it's just to keep track of each different hurricane. Because they're probably moving and tumbling like all over the world map. And then they're like, oh, here comes Ian coming into blah, blah, blah. And there's Monica.
The thing is the US of A is renowned for its hurricane season.
There you go.
And they go and put their houses right in the way of it.
Wow, I would not want to live in America. No, no, thank you. I mean, yes, visiting it would be beautiful. I'd love to see LA. I'd love to see Florida. I'd love to see Hollywood. But to live there and know that that happens, yeah, no, not for me.
Yeah, it's
Thank
like
you.
going to San Francisco and there's an earthquake right underneath you.
Exactly.
Anytime.
It's like I
Anytime,
love
right?
swimming, but not that much. I don't want to be swimming in my kitchen
Or
or
buggering
like in
off
the garden.
to Yellowstone and a
Yeah.
volcano.
I feel bad for the animals, though. I feel bad for all the animals because obviously humans are going to help out humans. They're going to like help each other. That's what we do. Not all the time, but for most of the part in our
Yeah, we
nature,
do
we lend
try
a
and
helping
help the
hand.
animals. I mean, there's
But
stories from
I
the
just feel
Australia
so
fires.
bad because they're probably getting all swept away just under those currents, and it's just like, oh, it's just so sad. It breaks
The
my heart.
Australia fires, I think, put some creatures into extinction, but they didn't put kangaroos into extinction.
Those
They
things
still
are
outnumber
everywhere.
humans down there.
They're everywhere, those things. I swear to God, they're as common as seagulls, I swear. Like there's so many of them and they're feisty. They're actually pretty hefty, pretty big, some of them. Like they've been lifting weights at the gym. They're pretty jacked up, you know. So they always say to you, don't get too close to the males because they can literally kick you and possibly kill you. You
Well,
know, they
that's
have
got
such a
nothing to do
power
with the weather,
strike.
though.
No, but even
No,
still, well,
I wouldn't want to
with
try
the
and save one in a fire.
no,
But
no,
we say that. I mean, in Australia, they had a bunch of fires. Now, a couple of them were stupid humans. The problem
mm,
is when you
yeah,
set fire to old forests, it's gonna
hmm
flare up, and then they have their own weather system. Their
yeah,
own weather systems happen. They have their own lightning and their own all sorts of stuff going on. So it can be a bit of a nightmare. And that's
yeah.
just that. I mean, Canada and California also have the big forest fires. But what's also quite, I mean, my uncle got caught in one. He died after a couple of years of being part of it because of all the smoke that got into his lungs.
Oh my
Moment he'd had,
goodness.
moment he'd had to fight this fire off from his back garden because there's a forest fire behind him in California.
Yeah,
Um, he was in a wheelchair after that. He couldn't walk properly. He couldn't breathe.
that's terrifying.
So
Even yeah,
you're too close to this stuff, and then your floods. I mean, Florida was built on a freaking marsh.
yeah, I forget that, you know, and it's you don't realize that the effects that something catastrophic like a forest fire, as you said, rightfully, it can get into your lungs and cause a hell of a lot of damage. You know, our lungs are only built to inhale and exhale oxygen. They weren't built to get those nasty smoke and fumes and
Carbon
chemicals.
monoxide.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. They weren't built for that, you know.
No,
So that's
no.
actually quite scary. Even if you're not involved in the fire, even if you're in the surrounding, uh, areas, that the wind and the air itself is carrying that crap, and that's now being inhaled into your lungs, and that can really cause damage, and that's really quite scary,
I
you
mean,
know.
no, with fires and things, it's a little bit different because they can either be started by the human hand
Yeah,
or they can be, just sort of like a storm, accidental. It's a case of nature takes its course. But
yes,
when you take a look at floods like what's happened in Florida, they've got floods there that they've got all these houses built on top of this marshland that they're never in the
yeah,
middle of a hurricane route. Hurricanes and storms and stuff go through here every year without fail, and then they
yeah,
put houses on this thing.
yeah, yeah, and then you
I
wonder
mean,
why,
and,
you
and
know.
I'm going to throw the Pope in here. Just if I'm going to name drop, I'll name drop. Here's a Pope. I don't know which one it is. It's a Pope.
Yeah. I
Just a
don't know
Pope.
which Pope, but
It's
here's the
just a
Pope.
Pope.
We've given you a Pope, guys.
Yeah, and
Right.
and this is just to trigger me because the one thing that the Bible does say, and I remember this from years ago when I did actually go to church, says build on doesn't say it says don't build on the sand, build on rock.
Okay. And that would make
This
more
is a
sense
very
then.
sensible thing to do.
Yes, absolutely. Rocks are infinite. They don't move
You build on
around.
clay and all you're going to get is sinkholes.
Exactly. And that makes so much more sense because rocks, their formation, they're solid. They've been there for many years. We don't even know how old some rocks are. You know, they can
Well,
actually.
I think it doesn't have to be built. It just has to be more solid land than the beachfront.
Yeah. And
Great. The beach is great, very birdie.
yeah.
But
exactly, but that just you know, it opens up a can of worms to, as we were saying, like floods and stuff like that. So really, you're going to have more damage to your property done living in those places. Like even dampness, you know, dampness we know can really like cause rot in a building,
mold
especially if
and illnesses, and that's the thing. It's not just the weather that's the problem. You froze.
my sister might have said that. She said that the floors are actually bubbling because they were just getting like so damp, right? They were creating air sockets. So we had to sort that out as well. And that's
Sorry,
just
you
in
kind of
England.
froze there, so we kind of like missed half that story.
Oh, that's okay. So I was just saying, like, even dampness can really do damage to a building or anything. So even the property in England, my sister was saying that like it got so damp that even the floorboards were being warped and there was like air pockets. So when you put that into perspective, you really have to bear in mind the elements, what's going to happen. You know, we know that England is just very, very damp. It's very wet. We have a lot of foliage. We have a lot of rain, soot. It happens. Whereas somewhere else, like I don't know, Arabia, it's going to be very, 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 very hot. You know,
And dry.
yeah, hot and dry. Sand dunes, beautiful. But you know, you really got to